Quilts of Valor Foundation began in 2003 with a dream, literally a dream. Founder Catherine Roberts' son, Nate, was deployed in Iraq. According to Catherine, the dream was as vivid as real life. I saw a young man sitting on the side of his bed in the middle of the night, hunched over. The permeating feeling was one of utter despair. I could see his war demons clustered around, dragging him down into an emotional gutter. Then, as if viewing a movie, I saw him in the next scene wrapped in a quilt. His whole demeanor changed from one of despair to one of hope and well-being. The quilt had made this dramatic change. The message of my dream was, quilts equal healing. The model appears simple, having a volunteer team who would donate their time and materials to make a quilt. One person would piece the top, another would quilt it. I saw the name for this special quilt. It was called a Quilt of Valor, a QOV. So as of this time, the total number of veterans who have been comforted is 326,777.
I would like to give you a brief description of the meaning of the layers of the quilt. The Quilt of Valor Foundation recognizes and acknowledges the war demons that plague soldiers from all wars. Thousands of quilters all over the United States work daily to create quilts to cover warriors from all conflicts, including World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and all of those beyond. A Quilt of Valor is made of 3 layers, and each layer has its own special meaning. The top, with its many colors, shapes, fabrics, represents the communities and the many individuals we are. The batting, or the filler, is the center of the quilt. Its warmth. It represents our hope that this quilt will bring warmth, comfort, peace, and healing to the individual who receives it. The backing is the strength that supports the other layers. It represents the strength of the recipient, the support of his or her family, our communities, and our nation. Each stitch that holds these layers together represents love, gratitude, and sometimes the tears of the maker. Each quilt also represents a 3-part message from the givers to those who receive. First, we honor you for your service. We honor you for leaving all you hold dear and to stand in harm's way in times of crisis, protecting us from the effects of war. Next, we know that freedom is not free. The cost of freedom is the dedication of lives of men and women like you, and this quilt is meant to say thank you for your sacrifice. And finally, this quilt is made to comfort you and to remind you that although your family, friends cannot be with you at all times, you are forever in our thoughts and our hearts. This was written by Martha Rugby, a social worker in Little Rock, VA. The next thing we'd like to tell you is to let you know the quilters who actually had a hand in making it.
I don't know who made it.
Oh, it was Lynn White made the top, Reba quilted it, and Mary Filio, thank you, I went blank. Filio actually put the binding on it. So there were many, many, many hands involved in making it and making it what it is. So we thank everyone for that. What I'd like to do, Ron will help me with it.
Let's show this.
Well, I'd like to talk about him first. I'd like very much to read the bio that David was kind enough to share with us, and thank you for doing this, because this is really important that we all recognize what has happened. As a political refugee from the Soviet Union, I came to the United States in 1992. Soviet regime was over and the revolution was in full swing. I was a Ukrainian Jew that escaped persecution at 12 years old. I always felt that I owed a service to this country for giving me the opportunity to have a much better life. Driving through the roadblocks on September 11, 2002, my Army recruiter and I drove into New York City, silently watching the solemn streets pass one by one. I was angry and I felt very proud of my decision. After signing my contract with the Army, I was on my way to basic training in less than a month. After basic training in Fort Sill, Oklahoma, I was sent to advanced individual training in Fort Gordon, Georgia. In March of 2003, as we waited to be honored as graduates of this class, I remember watching the TV playing on the far wall. The message was clear as we were beginning the invasion of Iraq. I was now a radio operator maintainer for the 3rd Battalion of the 1st Special Force Group Airborne, Fort Lewis, Washington. I spent my active time with this unit, and after deployment to Iraq 2006, I was honorably discharged. Thank you, sir, for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you so, so much. We would like now to be able to ask you to come up to us so we can wrap you in a quilt. We'd like to show the quilt. We award you this Quilt of Valor as an expression of gratitude from a grateful nation. This comes from a national foundation. This is not just a little local. So you've been recognized, and you are listed at a national level having received this quilt.
Thank you. This is awesome. Thank you so much.
I go in the Marines and I become that angry Vietnam guy that you don't want in your house because I'm just angry. And I was angry that way for 33 years, blaming everybody else. And then 9/11 happened. And when I got out of the Marines, I didn't wear shoes. I had stopped wearing shoes as a memorial for my friends that died and suffered. But if somebody asked me, how come you don't wear shoes? I'd say, I don't feel like it. You got a problem with that? Because I was angry and I would fight with anybody. And then when 9/11 happened, a little 8-year-old boy asked me, how come you don't wear shoes? That was the first person I told in 33 years why I didn't wear shoes. And soon as I told him, I realized I'm the problem. I have allowed this to happen because I sat on my hands for 33 years and let it happen. People say, you know, you're hard on yourself. We all have a voice. We all have an impact. I could have made a positive impact. When we think that our voice and what we do has no impact, I see it every day. We had a shelter in the Keys. 80% of the clientele were children of veterans that were destroyed before they got out of their house by their parents. Everything we do and say has an impact. I did, in my mind at that time, thinking I'm the smartest guy on the block, I walked the Appalachian Trail barefoot to create awareness. But it ended up being my penance to forgive myself. Then I figured, now I really got my act together. Now I'm going to walk across the country with a petition. But that was another learning curve for me. That of all, everything happens because people sit down. I consoled a mother or a father or a brother or sister every day that lost somebody to suicide. Every day I was held by that person like I was the person they lost, and they blame themselves. That's why nothing gets done, because it's somebody else's fault. I took responsibility that day at the poolside. When we take responsibility, you know, it's not McDonald's fault that I burnt my legs because I'm an idiot with a cup of hot coffee. No, it's my fault. It's my fault this country is this way. And I feel like I'm preaching to the choir because you guys are out here and do something. 30 years ago, you'd never see me in this room. Never. Until I changed. And I changed because I started to ask questions. Why am I doing this? What is this for? And what did I do to cause this? When I started asking those questions, then I changed and took responsibility. Till we ask those questions, nothing's going to ever change. Nothing. That's what our mentorship program is. That's what our 10 challenges to service is. You take those 10 challenges and you decide if you want to be a mentor and help somebody else out. But you take those 10 challenges and they're your challenges. What are you doing? What are you doing? What did you do to cause this? You know, and if people have a problem with me saying that, that's your problem. I'm working to address what I did. And people say you're guilty. No, I'm taking responsibility and I'm doing something about it. And I can sleep at night. When I walked across the country, and one of the first days, I got thrown out of a government building. I got, you know, people were rude to me. And then those first couple of days. And I went through a really bad neighborhood and had a piece of a broken headlight go through my foot. And I pulled it out and stuffed it with dirt to stop the bleeding. And you know, I'm starting to black out because I'm getting that tunnel vision and I'm getting the cold sweats. And I called my brother up. I'm having a little pity party for myself. Oh, why am I doing this? Nobody cares. They threw me out of a building. And I tell my brother, I says, Micah, I question my sanity. What am I doing this for? He says, Ron, don't worry, we question your sanity too. And nobody asked you to do this. So, you know, I hung up and I'm walking through this bad neighborhood. And, you know, all the yards are garbage and broken down cars and broken telephone poles. This one area had a plot of grass the size of one of these cushions, 6 foot long and as wide as that red cushion of green grass. And it was watered and cut with a lawnmower. And I stood there looking at that, laughing. I'm like, boy, the neighbors must think that guy's crazy. What does he do that for? And I don't know how long I stood there, maybe 5 minutes. And I thought, you know what? I bet that guy doesn't care what anybody thinks, and he's doing it for him. And that's when I realized I had my priorities wrong when I started that walk, because I thought I was doing the walk for them and the country. I was doing that walk for me. And when I came from that place, I didn't have any expectations, I didn't expect anything, and I got peace out of it. And I wasn't angry with anybody. If you agreed with me, fine. If you didn't, that's fine. I'm doing this for me because it's the right thing to do. I'm back for the wounded. They're still out there. The war didn't end over there. It's still going on right here. And we're losing every day, every time one guy kills himself. Every day. You say, you know, thank you for your service. Say, how can I help you today? Are you okay? What can I do for you? Whether you believe in whether the war is right or not, this kid was willing to die for you. What can I do for you? You want to sense? You want to talk? Hey, how are you doing? Treat him like a human. Don't be afraid because, oh my God, you know, he's done terrible things. He might flip out. He's a human being. That's your child. That's your grandson. That's my son. That's my brother. Say that to him and mean it. You know, the lip service is getting a little old, and these guys are angry. They go over there, they lose their buddy, they lose their leg and limb, they get pulled out. Everything goes back to the way it was. And what did I fight for? You know, I don't have the intel to get into politics, I don't know. But I just know that that's a human being, that's your kid. He's not the same kid anymore. Talk to him. Talk to him. Because then he knows somebody saw him. They're not seen when you say, thank you for your service, and then run away. You know, thank you for your service. What can I do for you? Then he's seen and heard. We all want to be seen and heard. What we do with our 10 challenges to service is help them make that shift. What are you grateful for? What did you do to do this way? All these questions, they're little, but if you change one little part, it changes your entire life. We had one kid, we have a Facebook page, and one of my buddies monitors it, and this one kid he knew was in trouble, so he talked for this kid for hours, for 2 days. And then he got him into our program, and the guy took the program, and I'm talking to the kid, and he says, oh, you know, you can become a mentor now, you took all the challenges. Well, he says, I hope you're not mad with me, but I mentored my friend. And now this kid that I told could become a mentor, he had a gun in his mouth. And he put it down. He says, I mentored my buddy. He's been drinking a fifth a day, and he had a gun in his mouth. And our first challenge is, what are you grateful for when you wake up? What are you grateful you accomplished at the end of the day? It took him 2 days to answer that question. And that's the only challenge he did. But he quit drinking, and it changed his life. And you think, oh, it's only one life. His wife, his children, his parents, they all get changed. They all get changed. We're not in a vacuum. We're all connected. None of us, I used to think I did everything alone. Yeah. What a fool I was. There's nothing I have never done that somebody hasn't helped me. You know, even if I'm naked in the woods and I have a pair of glasses, the guy that made these helped me so I could see and find my way out of the woods. So, but you know, I was younger then. That was yesterday. But, you know, that's, I have a lot of stories about my walk, but there's one that comes to mind when I was told I was going to come here. When I would walk, I like to, I'm a nosy guy, so I got to check everything out. That's just me. So one day I'm walking, it's Saturday, and I'm walking through a residential neighborhood, and this family's having a yard sale. You know, and I look homeless because my clothes are dirty, I'm barefoot, and I'm walking with this sign, so you question my sanity and my odor and everything else. And I'm looking around his yard sale, seeing, you know, what stuff he has, and, you know, I always felt you can figure out what a person is like by the stuff he's getting rid of. And he's there with his wife and his 12-year-old daughter. And I'll never forget this. He was, and maybe it's part of my attitude too, but he's standing there like this with a smirk, and he says, well, you know, the tree of liberty is watered with the blood of patriots. I wanted to beat this guy up. You're saying that because you're sure that your 12-year-old daughter is not going to go in and you didn't have to serve? And then I realized my anger was at myself because that's who I had been at one time. Thinking that I'm going to get out of this and I'm safe and home free. No, none of us are safe. None of us are home free. We don't know what tomorrow holds. You know, we have a good idea. But I'm well aware of the cost of war, which most people aren't. And to me, well, we work to help these guys. This is my little part in trying to make a difference. Everybody has your part. You know, it may not be what we do. It's doing the quilts. They quilted me in Ohio, which Roberta was upset with them because they were going to do me. But they surprised me over there. When you share your most precious thing with another human, your time, and share your joy, what brings you joy with them, what greater thing is there? Money goes, stuff disappears. that connection is forever. That's real. What's this stuff? Stuff comes and goes. So.
I kind of want to say something along the lines of what Ron was saying here. You know, I went to war and it was tough. But something that he said was something that I've been saying to my friends for a long time. The guys that actually had to keep going back and back and back. There's only a matter of time until you're just not going to come back. And whether it's in body or mentally. So one of my bestest friends, he just kept going back till he just couldn't come back. And then he went, and there was only pieces left of him that got brought back. I have a cousin that's fighting in the Ukraine right now. That's not ending anytime soon. I have lots of friends that are just dropping dead. I actually have a friend that I was deployed with, and interestingly enough, once we got back, none of us talked. We all went through hell. None of us really knew what the other guy went through. In the Special Forces, we were a very small community, so you do a job, you're not particularly sure what the other guy's doing. This guy came home and got too drunk to figure out how to shoot himself. That's why he's still here. And luckily, he told me that. So even though I'm not a mentor of any sort or some kind of savior of any sort, I know that I have to call this guy. And even if he's drunk, the couple of words that he has to mumble to me, it saves his life every night. So every night I have to make sure that he's still there. No matter how drunk he is, and I know he's going to drink himself to death, it's going to happen. A neighbor of mine just did the same thing across the street from me, 37 years old, drank himself stupid. He was in the military school and never got to serve, so that ate him alive. I don't know, it's tough for me to accept things, even though I really appreciate the gestures, it's so nice. But like he was saying, Veterans Day comes around, all of a sudden everybody's thanking you and all this garbage. Veteran Day's over, you're just that guy that nobody wants to talk to anymore. So it's not a struggle that we come home and we just, no, it's an adjustment. When you're in war, you have two decisions. It's very simple. You live or die. It's how you want to end your day. When you come home, you get swamped with all this stuff and the neglect, and then people just don't care. And I don't need them to, it was my job. But it's tough to survive. It's tough to function within the world after two decisions only. Like, it's really tough to come back. And a lot of my friends that have reached out and said, oh my God, I'll try to kill myself, but I screwed up. Thank God you called me, thank you. Like, I appreciate that. So for a lot of us, it's tough. And for some of us, it's really tough to accept things. Because when I came back, I was in Washington State. In Washington State, believe it or not, we were treated like the Vietnam vets. Every time we'd go on base, we'd get things thrown at our cars, and the news were always lined up outside our fence, and we were not allowed to talk to them, and it was just insane. So it's hard for people to come and be nice to someone like me when I treated so badly for so many years, and it just sucks. I'm sorry, it stinks. Anywho, but thank you guys so much.